Did you know that you can pay Tjump $50 and he'll debate pretty much anyone on anything? Now, in some cases, this can end in hilarity. Like when I paid Tjump to debate whether he was a dumbass or not.
Your inconsistent dumbass says, no, I'm perfectly rationally justified. In fact, it seems to be the case that I'm justified.
So yeah,
You're
again,
an
I think
inconsistent dumbass.
so. It seems like me being
In other cases, though, this can go horribly wrong. And that's what we're going to see here today when our friend Daz from Clubhouse Debates tried to pay Tjump $50 to debate Josh, the realistic nihilist. And it didn't end well. Let's enjoy.
Okay, so it's going to be an hour debate between Tjump and Josh. It's going to be on Tjump's moral theory. James is going to be the sort of moderator. So yeah, if Tjump, you could just lay out your theory for like quick as possible, and then we'll take it from there.
Yeah, there's a moral intuition is our feelings towards what we think is morality. We see a baby drowning, we feel it's bad, and so we label that as immoral. Helping an old lady across the street, we feel that's good. We label that moral. There's a pattern to these things, and it changes across time. That's moral progress. So like women's rights, LGBT rights, ending slavery, voters' rights. My theory is that this pattern will continue. More technology, more intelligence, it will continue, and it has an ending point, and that ending point is what I describe as the best of all possible worlds, and that this pattern will be the same among all conscious agents in the universe, given enough technology, and that's it.
So wait, is that a moral realist position?
Yep.
Okay, so I guess I have two basic thoughts on what you're saying. Could it be the case that when you say people make moral progress, you're saying that there's some change? Is any change moral progress?
There's a pattern to the change, and we're labeling the pattern progress.
Yeah, but I'm trying to figure out what that means. Like when you say there's a
there's a direction. There's one direction it's going and not in a different direction. And so there's a graph, and you can plot the line on the graph, and it has an arrow pointing in one direction and not the other directions. You can label the graph whatever you want. It makes no difference. I'm labeling it progress.
Well, but I don't understand. When you say it's going in a direction, I don't understand why it couldn't just be a scatter plot of random points. I don't understand what makes it the case that it's following some trend.
Because the changes are consistently adding one thing and not other things. So it's not random. If it consistently adds one more of one thing, then it's not random. Which
when
is
you say adds more of one thing, what is the thing it's adding?
Seeing involuntary imposition of wills as immoral. More freedom, more choice. I don't know.
And what you mean by immoral is what exactly?
Involuntary imposition of will.
So wait, so you're saying I'm sort of not understanding this standard, right? So the idea is the things that are being added to this graph are involuntary impositions of will?
Yes, as technology and intelligence increase, things that we once saw as not immoral, which were involuntary impositions of will, we now see as immoral. And so the standard of what morality is increasing the number of involuntary impositions of will that we see as immoral. For example, we thought it was okay to eat animals at one point, and now we're like, no, they're conscious, we shouldn't eat them. And so eating animals is an involuntary imposition of will, which was not seen as immoral and now is tending to be seen as more immoral. So as future technology increases, we have more tendency to see more infringements of will as immoral.
When you say, so like imagine it went the other way, is this just some sort of like descriptive fact? You're just saying that this is how you're using the term and that's it? You don't have any
It's
robust
descriptive
theory?
of a phenomenon, obviously. That's by definition. There's a phenomenon, moral intuitions, and it changes, moral progress, and we're describing that phenomenon.
Right, but it sounds to me like you're saying people can't be systematically mistaken about what is or is not immoral. Basically, your
No,
idea
that's stupid.
is.
That's literally the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Like, people could be mistaken, but that doesn't matter. We
I'm
could all be in a
saying,
brain
well,
in a vat. Like,
you
so
didn't
what?
pay attention to what I said. I don't know why you're saying it's the dumbest thing, because it's clear that you didn't pay attention. The reason it's
You
clear
said people
is
could be
because
systematically
yeah,
mistaken. It's literally
systematically,
irrelevant.
systematically. You took that word out of your response, and the reason that's salient is because
No,
what
no,
I
no,
was
no, no.
pointing out.
No. That's, I literally addressed that. We could all be in a brain in a vat, which means we would be systematically mistaken about pretty much everything, and it literally is irrelevant.
Okay, well, that's what I was saying. When you say it's irrelevant, I don't understand what that means, besides
What?
saying something like,
Brain in a vat arguments are irrelevant. It doesn't matter if we could be 100% wrong about
I don't know
everything.
why you keep interrupting me. You didn't even know the proposition I was about to say, so I don't understand what the point is. You don't know what I was about to say.
Yes, I do.
So you don't know
Said it a
whether or
million
not it's
times.
relevant.
Yes, because anything that says we could be systematically mistaken is inherently irrelevant.
What's your argument for that?
Because we could be systemically mistaken about literally everything, brain in a vat. It literally doesn't matter. Fallibilism. It doesn't
How
matter.
does it follow that I wasn't even, none of this
Make your argument.
epistemology,
Just stop
none of
wasting
this
time.
epistemology stuff is relevant to what I'm talking about,
Ask
but
your
it
question.
doesn't follow.
Hurry up.
I'm not, look, I'm not going to just let you fucking steamroll the conversation.
Oh.
I want to know, in virtue of what, is it irrelevant? Are things like Brendan Avat's scenarios irrelevant? You haven't explained that.
Fallibilism. You're an idiot.
What does fallibilism have to do with anything?
You don't need absolute certainty for knowledge. So you can claim that we have like a tendency to see shit. Like, oh, look, there's things in the world, like science. The fact that we could be a brain in a vat is, I don't give a shit. If that's your argument, you lose. It's that simple.
Yeah, so that wasn't, do you have an inference? Do you even know what a fucking inference is? None of
Yes.
that follows.
Stop your philosophabble, just make an argument.
Oh my God, this is so frustrating. All right, so what I was going to say, which you rudely interrupted, which is that the idea of what's moral and immoral is parasitic on psychology, right?
What? Parasitic? Like it drains psychology? That doesn't make sense.
No, it depends on our notions. You don't even know what the word parasitic means in this context. It's so crazy.
I'm quite familiar with the word parasitic. You are not.
So, do you know what it means for something to be parasitic on something else?
Yes, you're an idiot. So
what does it mean? It means it depends on something else, right?
So obviously it depends on the phenomenon, and the phenomenon is what we're looking at in our psychology. So saying it's dependent on the thing that we see, which is the phenomenon, obviously, that's literally, again, the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Look, but the point I was trying to make is just that either the way you're using the term, what you're talking about is just the way people use terms, right? The way people use the term moral, or you're not talking about that, right?
No, I'm saying there is a phenomenon. We experience the phenomenon. It corresponds to a thing.
Right, okay.
And then we use words to describe that thing.
Yeah, and you're saying that thing, you're calling that thing morality, right?
Well, we use the word morality to describe the thing, yes.
Right, so basically the point of what you're saying is that you're describing some state of affairs. That state of affairs is the number of involuntary impositions of will. I don't even know, that sounds redundant, right? It seems like you could just say impositions of will, because
number of that's no. There is a pattern in psychology of us changing our view of morality. When we use the word morality, it refers to things we see that we feel are good or bad.
When you say change our view of morality, are you saying change your view of what constitutes the phenomenon?
That is a gibberish question. No, it literally means
what do you mean it's a gibberish
one society.
Question? You were the one who fucking said it. You were the one who said it was a phenomenon.
No. Your question is
You were the one who said it was a fucking phenomenon, right?
Dumbass.
And then you said
mute him so I can get
explain to his dumbass. We change our view of what the phenomenon is.
You're such a dumbass. I'm just gonna leave if this dumbass keeps doing stupid shit. Like, this is so easy to understand. There is a change from one time to another time from what people see as moral. It changes in a pattern.
When you say what
Holy
people
shit,
see,
you dumbass.
When you say what people see as moral,
yes,
right,
their
it
feelings.
sounds like Oh my God, I don't understand what you're talking about. I'm asking if they're, I'm
How are you
asking
so
if they're,
fucking stupid? This is
you're not,
basic
you don't even know,
psychology.
what was I going to ask you? What was I going to ask you?
I have no idea what you're going to ask
Yeah,
because
you,
what you
yeah, so
said
you
that was
don't know
stupid.
what I
Shut up,
said was
shut up,
fucking
dumbass.
stupid?
Shut up,
Yeah, you
dumbass.
don't know, you
Shut up,
don't know
dumbass.
if what I
Shut
said
up,
was
dumbass.
fucking stupid.
I'm just going to
Because you
mute your
don't even know
dumbass
what
on
I was
my end
going
so
to
I can
fucking
hear you.
ask you.
Dumbass is muted.
Josh, please hang on real quick, guys. One second.
Fucking
Let's
moron.
try to set this up again. Josh, can you
Nope,
ask a
I get to
question?
answer. I get to say things first, and then he can talk. But his dumbass, who doesn't understand basic morality and basic
So,
moral realism, he's just a fucking moron. Yes,
so
there's a
let's
pattern
do
in
this.
changes of moral feelings. Holy shit! Ah, basic fucking moral intuition. Just Google it, you dumbass.
So let's do this. Let's let Tjump 30 seconds what you want to say, and then Josh will ask his question, and we'll move into that part.
Do moral intuitions exist? Yes. Do they change? Yes. Is there a pattern? Yes. Fucking dumbass. None of those are hard to understand.
Josh, you're good to ask your question now.
Yeah, I wasn't talking about moral beliefs. When I was saying, when people, you're saying that people's moral beliefs change, basically, is what you're saying, right? Moral beliefs, that's a
Yes.
more succinct way
In
of
a
putting it,
pattern.
right? Now, if you say people's moral beliefs change, my question is, are they tracking the phenomenon you're talking about, or is moral progress merely the idea that moral beliefs change?
If they change in a pattern, maximizing one property and not other properties, that's a pattern.
Obviously, if they change in a pattern, that's a pattern. That's redundant. You don't need to say redundant, stupid
Then
shit.
it's not random. It's not any
Right.
change.
Yeah, but when I asked the question, when I was talking about systematic deception, it sounds, what I was trying to ask is, could it be the case that most people use the term to describe a phenomenon that's different than what you're describing, right? That was my point. Now, obviously, it seems like it's contingently true that people use the term to refer to what you're saying that they're referring to, right?
Absolutely
You
none of
know,
that made sense. Like, what do you mean? Do people use the word morality to mean something different? Like, who cares?
yeah, you think that that's a contingent truth, right? People don't need to use the
What?
word any particular way.
Yeah, what people use the word to mean is irrelevant.
Well, I don't think it's irrelevant because your whole point is that it's supposed to be tracking some phenomena. You're saying that the way people use the
The
term
way
tracks
people
this
use the word is
phenomenon.
irrelevant. The way I'm using the word describes a phenomenon that exists independent of any opinion or usage of language whatsoever. There is a thing.
So,
It's there. It exists. It doesn't matter what people use the word to mean.
right, okay. So you're saying that as far as you're concerned, people's moral intuitions could completely differ. They wouldn't, it might have nothing to do in people's
What?
minds about involuntary impositions of will, right?
Whether people agree with my definition doesn't matter if the things they see as moral fits on the pattern. So if they define, I don't know, water as I don't know, something that's not H2O, and I say it's H2O, and they're like, oh, but we use a different definition. And I'm like, well, guess what? All of the things in your definition fit as consequences of how I define water, then I'm still right. So it doesn't matter how they define the word. It's literally irrelevant. Like, as long as the data points still fit the pattern and my pattern is accurately describing everything along that data point, it doesn't matter if they define it as slightly different.
Yeah, so what I'm trying to figure out is how this is not just some semantic difference between a moral realist, because what I take a moral realist to be is a person who thinks that there are true normative facts, that is to say, things that one ought or ought not do,
No,
and
that's
what
wrong.
that you
So
say.
moral realism is just that there are stance-independent statements, propositions, which are true or false about morality. Oughts aren't. There's multiple versions of morality that don't include oughts. You don't need oughts. That's you're begging the question on that one. So it's just saying there are moral facts which are true or false, independent of mine. That's it.
Yeah. So again, when you say that there are moral facts, and you're saying that these are not normative moral facts, which is to say that they have to do with oughts or ought nots, I take that to be changing the subject, right?
Then you're a dumbass. Just Google moral realism, Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy. The definition says there is no accepted singular requirement of that in the definition.
It's fine if there's not a singular accepted definition. I'm not talking about definitions. I'm talking about concepts. So it doesn't matter
Right, I'm
to me
saying
if there was.
the concept that you're applying to the definition is not in any philosophical definition. It's your preferred subjective philosopho-junk community of Discord, but that's not actually in philosophy. No, that's not a
You think that
philosophical
norms don't have
entailment.
to do with. You think that norms don't
Yes,
have to
that's
do
why I
with
literally told you Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy definition, moral realism, not in there. It's not in there. Your
Right? Yeah.
position is
When you
not
said,
philosophy.
I don't know. Hold on a sec. I'm just trying to figure out when you say that. You're saying that the definition that's on there is that there are stance-independent moral facts, right?
Yes, what?
Yeah. So if that's the definition, that doesn't exclude what I'm saying, because moral facts there could be understood as facts about what one ought or oughtn't do.
No, that part not in there. So that it literally says that that is not a requirement. There are many moralist positions that do not have that. So if that's your interpretation, you're just wrong, because they literally say there are moral realism models that don't have that, and it's accepted in philosophy because that's not a requirement. So if that's what you think it is, you're just wrong about philosophy.
When you say it's wrong about philosophy, it's that the point is that there's a conceptual difference. Whether or not it's in philosophy just happens to be some contingent fact. I mean, it could have been the case that people philosophized for thousands of years and never talked about morality, right? That's a possible world.
I
So
have
it's
no idea what you're talking
irrelevant.
about right now.
It's
Like,
irrelevant to point out that it's not in philosophy or it is in philosophy. I mean, it's obviously in philosophy. I could, if you want.
I have no idea what you're talking about right now.
I didn't come to this debate prepared to, that you were such a fucking dumbass that you didn't
Dumbass,
realize.
shut the fuck up.
You
You're
didn't
a
realize
fucking
that there
moron.
was a standard.
Shut the
You
fuck
didn't
up.
realize that there was
You
a
fucking moron.
standard understanding of moral facts such that they're norms, such that they ought or oughtn't be
Dumbass,
done.
I
didn't
just
realize that you were
answered the
so
question.
fucking stupid.
Mute the dumbass. Mute
that
the
I have to
fucking
go
dumbass or I'm gonna
through
leave. Mute the
all
dumbass
of
or
the
I'm gone.
different
Wait,
Mute the dumbass or I'm
Wait,
gone.
Josh, wait.
Mute the fucking
I-
dumbass now.
Wait, he's gonna leave.
Five
Josh,
seconds.
he's gonna leave.
Five,
fucking one, all
4, 3. Fucking dumbass.
No, fuck you,
I
you
just
piece of shit.
get
Fucking get the fuck out.
Mute the
Guys, hang on,
fucking
please.
dumbass.
Get the fuck out of here.
Mute
Guys,
the
please.
dumbass
Go.
now.
You back down? You think I'm worried about you?
Get this
You think I'm
muted.
worried
Mute
about
the
you being a
dumbass.
little fucking
Mute
faggot?
the
Bitch,
fucking
get the fuck
dumbass
out of
now.
here.
This
Holy
could be
shit.
the shortest
Kick him
debate.
out.
I don't give a
Guys.
fuck. You get the fuck out.
Mute him
Get the
fucking
fuck
now.
out, you
Mute
fucking
him
pussy.
fucking now.
I don't give
Mute him
a
now.
pussy.
Mute him
Get
now.
the fuck out.
Mute him.
Okay, I had to remove you from the stream for just a moment, please.
Just fucking
Daz,
said in academic philosophy, the definition he's saying is false. There is no consensus on that, you fucking dumbass. That's literally what I just fucking said 5 times. Moron! Holy shit. I win the debate. Fucking
So
dumbass.
let's try this for. I want to bring him back in as soon as he comes back.
He's gone.
Oh, I just put him in the back. I didn't mean to.
No,
I didn't
he's
kick
gone.
him.
He's gone.
He left because he's a fucking dumbass. Moral realism. Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy. Definition of morality. Just fucking Google it. Definition of moral realism.
Josh, are you coming back?
No, I'm not going to talk to him. He's a fucking moron. I'm so done with
Does anybody else want to fill in for 40 minutes? J Mike?
Stanford.
Yeah, my apologies for sending him to the back. I just needed trying to regain control.
Definition
we
of
can keep it
morality, Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy. There does not seem to be much reason to think there is a single definition of morality will be applicable to all moral decisions, blah, blah, blah. There are multiple usage. One is descriptively referring to certain codes of conduct that society groups use. Normatively, that refers to code of conduct. You can just say there are multiple definitions. They do not include normativity. This is very, very basic. He's just a fucking moron and ignorant of philosophy. So tired of these dumbasses who just think, oh, no, there's only one definition in philosophy. You fucking retards.
Right, does anybody want to fill in? Godless?